Good morning everyone. Today you're going to see my routine on Monday this week, and I always start every morning by feeding the minis at 9:30 a.m. Whilst they're eating their breakfast, I pour myself a cup of tea and I start to make their dinners. I am very particular about their nutrition, so I like to weigh everything. And they get alfalfa maizing from Emerald Green Farm, the alfalfa pellets, and Simple Systems Pura Beet. Then they get Progressive Earth's Pro Young Stock supplement, some micronized linseed, and spearmint for taste. I always soak their feeds to make sure there are no hard pellets to choke on or expand in their stomachs. Then I put their hay for the day outside, and I like to feed the Horsage high fibre rather than normal meadow hay because they are fussy and that is all that they will eat. And I have to break it apart so they can get to it easily because it's otherwise really highly compressed. Once they have finished eating, I go to change their rugs. Depending on the weather, depends on what rug they will get or if they are naked, and then I let them out to enjoy the day. And Nico has a bad habit of backing up into me for asking for butt scratches, and it's not a great thing to encourage, but he enjoys his butt scratches. Once Nico is done, I then go and do the same for Safi. And Safi's always a little bit manic in the mornings, especially during the winter. She absolutely hates to wear rugs. And she always has her ears back because she's a typical mare, so they always get stuck in the hood of her rug. I then remove their feed bowls and their water bowls and wash everything. There is nothing worse than a dirty feed bowl. And here are the two little babies happily snacking on their hay for the day. Then I start mucking out, and when I muck out I like to have a glove on, and I do it by hand because when the minis, their poo is so small it tends to just break apart on the fork or fall through even with a special fork, so I just personally find it easier to just use my hands. The minis are bedded on Orbeos, so it's a really fine bedding that you can sift very easily. So once I've gone through it by hand, I then start to sift with my fork through the front of the bed and see if there's anything hiding that I couldn't get by hand. And if anyone's wondering, this is a bit of a hybrid fork. It is the V-Plast mini head with a carbon fibre handle from the Wave fork, which Bedmax usually sells, and they don't actually make it anymore. So I deconstructed it because I love the carbon fibre handle, but the head is perfect for mini mucking out. So yeah, I combined them and made a Frankenstein fork. Once I've taken all the poo out, I then smooth the top of my bed out. Then I rake all the front, so any small bit, dusty bits get left behind, but all the big bits get pulled back into the bed. Then I sweep all the dusty, nasty small bits that are left behind because I hate having dust in my bed for them to breathe in. Then I sweep my bed back so it's nice and even and a nice thick layer of bedding. Today is fresh bedding day for Nico, so he's going to get a brand new bale of Orbeos, which is always very satisfying to watch. And I have the bluntest penknife on earth, but I will not give it up, so watch me struggle to open this. Using my fork, I just spread the bedding evenly around, raking it forward and just smoothing over the top till it's beautifully flat and the way I like it. And as you can tell, I spend way too much time of my life doing this every morning. Once the bed is even on top, I sweep all the small bits back and then sweep it back to make it nice and straight at the front. And between sweeps I bash my broom on the wall because the bedding tends to get stuck in the broom and just get reattached to the floor again otherwise. It's a little trick I've worked out, and there's also a hole in my wall because I've smacked it so many times. And that is Nico's beautiful thick bed all done. And I just do the same with Safi's, and here it is all finished as well. Now, as you can tell, they absolutely love to play with the Orbeos packet. That's what that noise was in the background before. So I give it to them to play with whilst I finish off everything else around the yard. Once all the mucking out is done, I put my tools away, and with Safi's help, I sweep the yard. Using my dustpan and brush, I just pick up what I've swept into a pile, to make sure everything's nice and clean for the day. I make sure my stable door is locked back during the day because the minis use it as shelter and like to have a nap in there sometimes. Once I'm fully done, I completely wash out their water buckets, making sure they're clean and scrubbed. Once all the buckets are clean, I put them back in the stables and I put the hose in each bucket to start filling them up again. Whilst they're filling up, I go back into the tack room, put all my stuff away, and I start to sort out the hay for Safi's stable. They do not have access to Safi's stable during the day because it's an awkward door to lock back because it's in Nico's stable. So I put her hay in for the evening so it's nice and done when they're ready to come in for the night. They also sometimes, when it rains, like to go back in the stable and they eat out of Safi's hay box over the door because they're big pains in the arse, and apparently that's better than eating out of their own hay box that's easier to reach. Once Nico's water is done, I just move it over to Safi's to fill hers up, and I only fill hers up a small amount because she doesn't drink much overnight. And this is what it all looks like in Safi's stable once it's done. Today's a bit of an interesting day because I had the vet out for Dave. So before I did Dave, I actually went to our neighbouring yard to start working my neighbour's horse, Zara. Zara is a beautiful chestnut British warm blood. She is 16-2 and 13 years old, and she has not been in work for probably over a year, almost 2 years now, and I've been given the opportunity to bring her back into work. So this was my first time working with her. We just lunged for 10 minutes, 5 minutes each way, just lots of transitions in trot. And she was a little bit feral on the ground at first. We had a moment where she decided to break free and took me for a ride around the yard in hand, took me grass skiing. So that was interesting, but once the bridle was on and she settled, she lunged beautifully. And as you can see, even though she's very unfit and a little bit wild looking, she is a beautiful, beautiful mare. And I'm really excited to get going with her this week. Once I finished with Zara, I just turned her out again and I walked back over the road back to where Dave's livery yard is. Hi everyone, I thought I'd just pop in here and explain what I did today after Zara because I didn't get it on video. So after finishing Zara and turning her out, I walked back over to Dave's livery yard and had the vet out. So Dave's not been performing very well for slowly over the last month, but I probably noticed the difference about 6 months ago last winter when he pulled his shoe. So it's slowly just been getting worse, and it's now to the point where if I even walk him in the menage, he feels lame to me. He doesn't look visually lame unless you notice it, like you stare very, very hard at it and know what you're looking at. But to ride, he feels terrible. So I stopped riding him about 3 weeks ago now, and I've either been lunging, walking in hand, or just going to play with him. So the vet finally came out and we did a lameness workup on his hind end. So that includes flexion tests, which is where they pick up the hind end legs to really high up, hold it there for 10 seconds to engage the joints, and then straight away once it's put down, you trot away and trot back for the vet so they can see if it's caused any soreness or whatever. Dave passed that, of course. He did pass his flexion test when I vetted him as a 4-year-old before I got him. So he was fine, and then we lunged him on a hard surface on both ways to see if that showed up anything. Again, Dave was very, very fresh, so he was doing his show-off trot and moving very normally and passed that as well. So at this point, we needed to take it further because he was not visually showing where the lameness is. So that we actually rebooked the vet to come back on Wednesday. So I will show you that in the next up-and-coming vlogs. After finishing up with Dave, I drove home and got ready to put the minis to bed. I usually put them to bed around 5 o'clock, but during the winter I put them to bed at 4:30 just so it doesn't get too dark. As you can see, they were already waiting for me at the gate when I came home. They're very well trained with their routine. They have the same routine every single day. So I don't have to catch them in from the field or anything. They go straight into their stables one by one in the correct order, like the good children they are. Safi knows to go first and Nico knows to wait behind her, otherwise he will get attacked by her. And I'm sorry for the camera angle here, my gorilla pod gave in and slowly started filming the sky, so enjoy this angle. Whilst they're eating, I just sweep the yard because they walk in and out of Nico's stable all day and tread bedding everywhere. Once they're finished eating, I then put their rugs on for the night, if they need any. And then they're all happy and tucked up in bed, eating their hay, and they always get a fruity treat before I leave, and they will not go to bed happy if I do not give them that treat before turning off the light. Gorgeous babies. Night night. And I will see you next time for another day in my week.